Hi and welcome back to the Positive Prepper. So this is the second video in my lists series. This one is 10 myths that people have about prepping. And I know that I've heard a few of these. There's actually a few more that it could have added on here. There's one I'm definitely going to add back on here that I've heard. So the first one is Myth 1, prepping is only for doomsday extremists. We know that that's not true. The reality is that prepping is a lot for your practical reasons, right? It's about handling the small emergencies that come up, like power outages, even losing your job for a short time and having those extra resources, right, so that your family can be fed. Medical emergencies, if your car breaks down, all of these things entail prepping, right, to help that situation not be such a big deal. And a lot of times any emergency that you will encounter is going to use the same types of resources. So it's managing risk management versus, some type of doomsday scenario, right? Apocalypse. There are a lot of people that believe completely in a full societal breakdown, and that's a very real possibility. And that's what we as preppers deal in is possibilities. So you need to shore up your preps. You need to keep prepping even for those smaller emergencies, and then make sure that the systems within your prepping are functioning at their best. But it's not all about doomsday. It's about the smaller emergencies as well. Myth number 2, you need tons of money to prep. No, you don't. A lot of the best preps are cheap or even free. So if you can find like your buy one get one free sales at your local grocery store, that can help. If you use a pantry, like a food pantry, you can get some of that food put aside. If you go to county fairs, a lot of times you can get free medical supplies like Band-Aids. They were even giving away Narcan. So, your water storage systems, you can make these things happen without a lot of money. The biggest thing for prepping is your skills. And that doesn't take money to build up those skills or enhance the skills that you have. Most preppers build their supplies up slowly, one item at a time. There are preppers that go out and they spend, thousands and thousands of dollars on the best freedom seeds and freedom shooter that they can find. But not every prepper is that way. Most preppers can't afford to do that. They just build it up as they can. So when you can go get that extra 5-pound bag of rice to store, go do it, right? When you go to hotels, you can take the toiletries that are free and put them in your preps. You can even actually grab the toilet paper. I don't advise that because I'm not sure what the the morality of that part is, but the small shampoos and conditioners and stuff like that you have to take. So it's not about taking a ton of money to prep. You don't need it. Just one little thing. One can of SpaghettiOs extra is that one more meal that you have set aside. Number 3, you need a bunker and survival gear. No, you don't. Again, most emergencies are going to happen when you're at home. So what's actually going to help you is having the clean water, your food supply, a way to stay warm, especially if it's cold outside, having an alternative source of heat. You need to have light, so flashlights, things like that. You should have an alternative way to communicate, and then your medical. So you don't have to have a bunker and all of this expensive survival gear. If you are somebody that's looking at, like a doomsday scenario, an SHTF event, big event, then yep, you're probably going to spend the money on a bunker. But it's not necessary. Okay? Tactical gear, tactical weapons, all of these crazy tools and things, you don't have to have those. And again, preppers start small and they build one at a time. And you stack it to the rafters and stack it again, but you don't need all of that expensive survival gear. And that's, again, that kind of ties in with that other one, that it doesn't take a lot of money to prep. Myth number 4. Prepping means you expect society to collapse. And again, we've talked about this. This is about taking a situation that you might be facing and being prepared for it so that your stress is reduced and this event isn't as catastrophic for you and your family. Okay? It means that you don't have to go panic buy because you already have things right in your home. It means that you're able to protect and provide for your family even in an emergency. It allows you to not have quite so many disruptions during that event. And it also means that you have independence, so you're not reliant on other agencies or the government to come in and save you. And that is really highly valuable, I think, to be able to do this on your own without asking or waiting for somebody to come and say, here, let me help you out. It's the same mindset kind of as insurance. So you hope that you never have to use it. Preppers always hope that nothing happens, but we always prepare for it just in case. Myth number 5, food storage means eating weird survival meals. No, again, smart prepping means that you're putting food aside that you and your family like and enjoy. It's not going to be fun in an emergency if you don't like spinach and that's all you've put aside is spinach, okay? You're going to want to be putting aside the foods that you already like to eat. Your canned goods, like I said, your pasta, your canned raviolis or SpaghettiOs, things like that for kids especially. But whatever rice you guys like or pastas that you like, any of your pantry. So what's your favorite spices? Put those aside. You're not getting all of this mystery food. You're just adding to the foods in your pantry that you already enjoy. Now, to be fair, if you are going to have to rely on food in your backyard, you might have to try some of these different, dandelion leaves or whatever. But it's not a mystery. It's an adventure to see how can you make those so that they taste good for your family. So see it as a positive, not as a negative. Myth number 6, prepping is about fear. Actually, if you are very well prepared, it reduces the fear that you have in an unknown situation when some kind of an emergency happens. Okay, you have your plan, right? You know what you have to minimize the impact of the event. You're not trying to figure out how you can go get what you need in that rush, right? In that state of emergency, because you already have it. And depending on the type of event, you might even be able to go out and help other people. So it's not about fear. It's actually about building confidence, especially when you work on your skills and you're building up your preps. That creates strength and confidence, not fear. Myth number 7, you got to do everything at once. And again, this is not true. Prepping is a long-term thing. The goal is eventually prepping just becomes a way of life for you, so that you are, you start out being prepared for that 3-day event, and then you're built up for now you can last a week, and then 2 weeks, and then a month, and then a year. And before you know it, you've got 10 years worth of supplies stored. And you have your rotational systems, right? You're never done. So while you're not having to do everything at once and it's a long game, there isn't a finish line, because you're constantly working on your skills. You're constantly rotating your preps. You're constantly going through them and thinking of things in different ways. Okay. Myth number 8, only rural people can prep. Again, this is not true. And a lot of what you see, obviously, on TV is, these people that live on 800 acres out in the middle of nowhere, right? And they've got their bunkers, and they've got their livestock, and they've got their gardens. And so I can understand why this myth would be floating out there. But the reality is that when you are in a populated area, you actually have, in some ways, more resources than what rural people do. Even small apartments have the capability to provide that environment that you can make it through some kind of an emergency event. You can get compact water containers. You can have your evacuation plan. You can have your routes. You have a lot of avenues to get drinking water, additional food. You also have a lot more people around you to sort of blend in and be gray wolf and find other people that are like-minded. So you definitely can prep, and you can find ways to store your preps in your apartment. Think outside the box. So things under the bed, and things in the walls, and things under the stairs, and up on top of cabinets. And if you have I think it's easier to organize when you're in that smaller space than it is when you have this larger space. Okay. But I want you to think of it, if you are in an urban area, that you have more abundant access to very quick resources. So in some ways, you have it a little bit easier. Myth number 9, gear matters more than skills. And I can understand, again, this mindset, because a lot of preppers all they talk about is the hardware, the tools that they're using to defend themselves. But the reality is that you need to have the skills. You need to be able to cook very basically and using things off the land. You need to know how to treat minor injuries. You need to problem solve. You need to be able to communicate. Okay, you need self-defense. You need psychological and mental strength so that you're not panicking in an emergency situation. So your skills are absolutely way more valuable. You can have all the gear in the world, but if you don't know how to use them and you're panicking, that gear is not going to do you any good. You need to learn the skills. And the last one is preppers don't trust anyone. And again, actually, that's not true. We do trust people. Having a community is a very strong prep for us. We don't trust easily, and we're definitely not going to trust you with our preps right off the bat. Building up that community takes a long time, okay? We're not just going to invite you in our home and be like, oh yeah, here's all my stuff, right? We're going to feel you out very carefully. But we are always welcoming, and we are always, always, always happy to share our insights with new preppers. So absolutely we can help you with, what's the best long-term food storage, what's the best way to get water filtered, or what's the best long-range self-defense tool. We're always happy to answer questions, but it's going to take a while to build up that long-term trust. It doesn't mean that we don't trust anybody. It just means it takes a while to build that up. So, and I want to add on to this another, I guess it's not really a myth, it's maybe more of a question, but what happens with the preps when, so like, if something happens to me, 30 years from now, nothing's happened and we're still working on our preps. We've done all of this for nothing. I guess that would be the myth, is that if nothing happens while you're prepping, then it's all been for nothing. And that is absolutely not true. Because even though it might not have been needed when I was here, it might be needed for my children. When I was, a quick little side note about that, when I was way back in the 1900s, I was a live-in during my summers with an elderly woman. She was in her 80s, and she was a missionary. And she had gone all over the world on mission trips. And she lived in this tiny little 2-bedroom house, right, in this small little Wisconsin town. And so I would live with her during the week and help her with her cooking and her laundry and all of that. And even back then, she had you could not throw away milk jugs. She wanted those kept. You had to rinse them out. You had to put just a little bit of bleach in them and clean them and rinse them out really well, let them completely dry, and then fill them up with water and put them in her basement. And her whole basement was water. She said, there's going to come a time. Now, this was, like I said, this was way back in the 1900s. She knew that there was going to come a time when getting basic drinking water was going to be difficult. And as a missionary, and having gone to countries where I'm sure they probably didn't have the greatest drinking water, she knew that this was something she needed to prepare for. Now, obviously, she has since passed away. Whoever got her house after her probably dumped all of that water out. But it was there in case something had happened after she passed and somebody might have needed it. Okay, it's never a waste of time. If you think that preparing yourself for emergencies, big and small, is a waste of time, then you have to work on your frame of mind before you will even start down the prepping journey. So, I hope that this video helped. I will be putting out another list one tomorrow. I apologize for the lighting in this one. I'm in my car waiting for my daughter to come out of the school. So, but I hope this helped, and I'd love to hear your feedback on it. Again, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that like button. It would be appreciated. Stay safe, stay vigilant, and God bless.